This is a journey into my efforts to trying to trace my mother's grave, and so I took on this trip to Langata Cemetery to go and try and see if I could get assistance from the offices and to identify my mom's grave. And this has taken me like 13 years. We've been there several times, but we couldn't successfully say we exactly knew which grave it was because it didn't have permanent markings, and I thought it's important as we remember her 13 years. And I have come here and I met with a lady who is supposed to take me through the records, and as she explains, she tells me there was a fire that left so many files damaged. All I am doing right now is hoping and praying that my mom's name can somehow be traced through these files. As you can see, the books are in very, very bad shape. I may not know if they have a backup, but if this is all we are hoping for, honestly, I kind of feel like it's going to be a long day, but my hope is that we can manage, because I've set apart this day to just have this done with. And there are tons and tons of books. She keeps, with the help of the gentleman, trying to get all the records. All you have to do and know when you come here is the day that your loved one passed on. That kind of helps them in knowing which books to look into. And as you can see, these books are badly burnt. I couldn't even imagine how it would be like if my mom's name was on the top part of this book. And I just kept fingers crossed, hoping and praying that somehow we would find her name. So at this point, I just kept on telling them she passed on 2nd of June 2008, and so they were just retrieving books one after the other, trying to see if somehow they can trace her name. Another thing I also noticed is they usually do not use, they haven't categorized them into male and female, so they're all mixed up. So you just have to give them the exact details. That is the surname, because that is what precedes every other name. So they use the surname. And this was me now trying to zoom in closer just to see if I can get a glimpse of the names, and it wasn't an easy thing, but I thank God they were so kind and patient with me. And so I just kept reminding them her name, and one file after the other, it just seemed a bit kind of hard to find the exact book in which it was. And we kept at it, and finally the hope paid off. And as you can see, we are actually now on my mom's name. If I could zoom in, but I didn't, we finally managed to get her name. And now he is just pointing out the grave number and the row. Now the next task will be now going, obviously with the help of this lady, because she has she knows how they are, arranged. So we were just given the grave number. It's what she's trying now to note down, and so that there you go. That's my mom's name, Lillian Watahi. And now she's following through to see which row and column. And yes, she was buried on the 7th of June. So that's the grave number. That's the number she needs to note down, and we will just walk out of this place and go. So I came
because I've made these trips twice before, and I was just trying to locate my mom's grave. If you've been to Langata, you know how difficult that is. I mean, it's been 13 years now, and finally we have the records, although there was a fire accident, but fortunately we've managed to trace my mom's grave. We found the name and the grave number, so we're just going to go there and see, and this marks the end of coming here and just having to guess where the grave is. So it's kind of some relief, and the reason I'm doing this is because this is her resting place, and I feel it's about time we just did something about the place.
And on we went, and as we walked, I was just inquiring from the lady how many years it takes for a grave to be exhumed, and she told me 99 years. And so I thought that's quite long. So there's still hope that we will still have my mom's grave here for the almost like our lives. Like we don't have to worry about it being exhumed, because this is the permanent section. And then again, she told me they usually do not cut down trees, and that is why whenever we came here, I could always remember my mom's grave was near a certain tree, and every time would come, that's where we would go. But then again, like I said, we couldn't really point to the exact grave because there are so many that are like hers. It was done a bit. It was like there was a bit of cement, but it wasn't like completely done, and so the cross had a bit decayed. So, but she kept telling me if I had like the pictorial memory, it couldn't be that far from where I thought it was. So all we needed to do is go now and count the graves. I know there's some people who would get uncomfortable, but you see, for me, this was something that I feel like it's a responsibility, not just for me, but for my kids who now have started, inquiring about their grandma. And that is what kind of pushed me to just wanting to come here and get things done. And so maybe someday I will bring them and show them where their grandmother rests. And slowly by slowly we were approaching the area, and Langata is quite huge. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's quite if you can see from a distance, that's the tree that I remember where we were, the ceremony was being conducted from. But we kept walking, and I kind of feel like it's a good thing that they do not cut down trees. If the tree was long gone, I don't know what I would have been, looking at. So that's a good thing to note. At this point, I had to let the lady now lead me, because she knows the place much better. And now with the grave ID, all we needed to do is, as guided by her, is identify the row and the column. And we were literally counting a grave after the other. And even though I kind of felt like I knew exactly how it looked like, or it would look like, and it was supposed to look something like this, just bare cement. Obviously wasn't expecting the cross to be there, and that's the rough idea I had of how the grave would probably be looking like, something like this. All these graves you're passing, you see how hard it would be now to actually say this is the exact grave, because there are several others which kind of look almost the same, and that is what kind of made the search a bit hectic and tedious. And so I had to get the intervention from the management. And so now as she went the opposite direction, because for her she wanted to know and look at the year, the time, they know how they are arranged. And I kept walking towards the place where I kind of had this gut feeling my mom's grave was. You can notice she's far on the other side, and I'm just stuck here, around here, because I had a gut feeling. Now the problem was these graves were too identical to even think which would be which. And so at this point I was just recording randomly. I couldn't say that I had at this point I was just holding my camera and just looking around. So what you're seeing is me just now trying to look around, and I was kind of torn. I really was torn, and for some reason I just kept asking, could this be it? Notice that grave, that one. My gut feeling, I was even moving closer, it kept telling me it has to be somewhere near there. But I was just waiting patiently for the lady to confirm which row it was, and then we can start counting how many graves towards my mom's grave number. But I stood here and I kind of had a feeling it could not be far from where I was standing, and so I kept it there. And right here, this is actually what caught my eye, that cross right there. And I remember just going back to my gallery and looking into our burial, the pictures from the burial, from identifying her name to now getting her grave. I couldn't have been happier. This is us, so young. This was the last picture we took with her. This is my brother, the middle-born, the middle child. It was just a difficult day for us, and that cross is what helped. And hey, our last born, you see how tiny he was in this picture, and as you can see now, he's all grown into a young man that we are also proud of, and we really thank God for he has been very, very faithful. And this is our middle child, I keep calling him that. And lastly, her very beautiful grandchildren, and we thank God